Painkiller Ghosts, Chapter 28, A Fall on the Stairs, Part 2. This is the same time, now, and this is what time is doing. He's walking down his front stairs, taking a left, walking sockless in his shoes. Is worn up a little bit since this morning. He's out in shoes, the old pants he's been wearing more often than not recently, in a long sleeve t-shirt. He has his camera with him, of course. He hears that dog tag jingle and smiles to himself. He smiles for the first time today. He gets to the end of the sidewalk, pauses for a minute, looking left and then right, then left again and right again, trying to decide which way to go. He hears a dog bark to the left and decides to head in that direction. He walks slowly, aimlessly. He stops here and there to take some pictures, a photo of an old car with new graffiti, broken doll parts in the middle of the street, one lone mum still blooming in an otherwise dead garden. The farther he walks from his house, from Suzanne's house, the more for sale signs he sees. He thinks about his shoes as he walks. He doesn't want to think about them much at all. He doesn't even want to think much at all. His shoes, they feel so weird on his feet. He sees a woman jog by, about her age. She doesn't make eye contact, she just jogs on by. He watches her, he turns as she passes by. He's thinking about sex for the first time in a long while. He keeps going, and then he sees someone. He stops walking, not quite in the middle of the road, but not quite on the side of the road either, and he just holds his camera to his eye, and he slowly starts to turn in a circle, slowly but slowly, just a little, and then just a little more, and he's made a full circle, and then he is pointed the way he wants to go, and he sees through the lens of his camera all of a sudden, there is a woman at the end of the block, standing still with two dogs on leashes. The dogs are sitting calmly, tongues out, just staring towards time. The woman seems to be staring at time as well, though through dark glasses. Snap, snap. He hears one of those phantom growls he's been hearing recently. He takes two photos and crosses to the other side of the road. He starts to feel like maybe he shouldn't be where he is. He's on a road he's been on 100 times more, but yet now he feels out of place. He gets to the other side of the street and continues walking past a few parked cars, a handful of for sale signs. He gets closer to the end of the block and the dogs just continue to stare at him. The woman just stares too. And then he's directly across the street from her, and time looks to his left, and the dogs have turned themselves, rearranged themselves, and are looking directly at him. And then the woman takes off her sunglasses. She's looking right at time, and he can feel his left knee go weak when all of a sudden he realizes he's staring at the twin of his mother, a twin of Suzanne, who is staring right back at time. It is Mama. No. Mama is dead, under the ground, cold and dead. It looks like her, but it's not her. No. Mama is dead, and time is dying from hallucinations. It's not her. Just stop it. Stop it. Stop staring. Time is just staring. He cannot stop. The woman never smiles, but breaks eye contact and then continues walking. She goes down the street and she never looks back, and neither do the dogs. Time lifts the camera to his eye to take another picture of the woman and the dogs walking away, but something goes wrong with the camera and it won't take a picture. He points it to the ground, refocuses it, and it allows him to take a picture. Then he lifts it up again and tries to take one more frame, but again it locks up on him. He looks at it, turns an adjustment knob here and there, and when he looks back, the woman and the dog are gone. Time needs to sit down. His left knee is feeling weak and he's dizzy. He needs to sit down for a minute, 5. He goes into the yard to his left. It looks empty with a week's worth of newspaper and their plastic condoms in the driveway and a fallen over for sale sign. He closes his eyes. When he opens them 15, 20 minutes later, he realizes that he is diagonally across the street from that house. Her house, from the girl that he saw in the cemetery after Suzanne's funeral. Chastity's house. But the driveway is empty. The blue car is not there. Time is surprised he walked this far without realizing it. He sits and stares. Then he stares and fiddles with his camera. It's working again now. He gets up and heads home, taking the long way home. He doesn't want to run into dead Mama walking her dogs. He eventually gets home. He opens all the cabinets in the kitchen 2 or 3 times and decides he may be a little hungry, but not much. And he sits on the sofa and stares at the television all night, not really watching it, but not really falling asleep either. Stan is at home later that night. He's got a new prescription and a new bandage on both sides of his nose, and neither one will stop bleeding. He wishes he had his cell phone, but now he just takes a handful of pills and chews them, and he's on the sofa when he falls asleep, and then he rolls onto the floor and hits his nose, but he's had a lot of painkillers, too many, so he sleeps still, and he pisses his pants, and he sleeps through it all, and he won't wake up until morning, when he will wake up to a swollen nose, crusty blood, a pounding headache, and pain pills on oatmeal for breakfast. Chastity's ribs are not broken, but still when she breathes it hurts. She sneezed a little while ago and started to cry from the pain, but there's nothing broken. Chastity drove to the pharmacy and filled the pain prescription. On the way home, she saw some kids on skateboards and she gave them the bottle of pills. She's a virgin, not an angel. When she got home, she took a hot shower and stood there until it got cold. When she got out, she put on only a t-shirt and found Suzanne Exler's book, Time's Passing. She tore a page out from the middle, tore that page in half, and rolled a joint with it. She put a jacket on, so she only wore a t-shirt and a jacket, and she climbed out the window from the library onto the roof of her house, and she sat and she smoked the page from the book, and the pain in her rib started to subside, but she got freaked out about the man with the broken nose in the hospital looking at her name and her address in the hospital form. She got freaked out, but just a little. She hit the joint, the page from the book, and she got less freaked out. And she smoked, and then cussed for no reason, and she felt better. And then she felt good. So good. She climbed back in the window, closed it, but didn't latch it, and she dropped her jacket on the floor, and she went downstairs, and saw the front door was closed, but not locked, but she didn't care right now, and she sat down on the sofa and watched the news in a haze until she fell asleep.